So there we go, game week 2 of the Gallagher Premiership is done and dusted, and what a game week it was. There were some crazy results. Henry was pretty much wrong on every count, apart from one actually, which I'll come to. I was almost definitely wrong on every count, but also fortunately so was everybody else who follows us and commented on the predictions. So there we go, a crazy weekend. Without any further ado, I will dive into the results and I will give you the top players for each fixture. And so the game we kicked off with Newcastle versus Sale. Henry had this one down as a Sale win, I had this one down as a Sale win, and bar I think one person, well done Andy on Twitter, who said Newcastle by 1, I think he said. Newcastle did indeed win by 2 points, 15 points to 13. So 0-0 for Henry and I. The key players in that game were Cobus Visa with 55 points, Sean Robinson with 37, another good game week for him, and another good game week for Aka van der Merwe on 33 as well. Van der Merwe looking like a quality prospect for your squad. I probably should have started him instead of Tom Dunn this week. I had more faith in the Bath forwards than I should have given. Next up, Northampton versus Harlequins, and Henry had this one down as a Northampton win, I had this one down as a Northampton win, and pretty much everybody else had this one down as a Northampton win. Harlequins, as it was, turned up and absolutely smashed it, 49 points to 29, the victors. So, man versus machine, Henry and I, 0-0 again. Key players in that game were Marcus Smith with 52 points, Danny Kerr with 45, and then Lewis Ludlam and Andre Esterhazen with 37 apiece. Next up then was Gloucester versus Wasps, and Wasps obviously come off the back of a fantastic last minute win last week, and Gloucester off a defeat to Leicester at Welford Road. As it was, we went into the game, I predicted Wasps, Henry predicted Wasps, almost everybody else predicted Wasps, and Gloucester won it, 40 points to 24, so still 0-0 between Henry and I. Key players in that game, Billy Twelvetrees with 56 points, Matt Garvey with 40, and Alfie Barbary with 38. A great performance from the Wasp man there. So now down to Sandy Park and Exeter versus Bath. Bath do not have a particularly good record down at Sandy Park. They generally do not come away with a W. On this occasion, they were beaten by 40 points to 3. Henry predicted Exeter, I predicted Exeter, I think everybody else predicted Exeter, and so Henry and I are tied 1-1 on that one. Key players in that game were Sam Skinner with 44 points, Sam Simmonds with 32, and Facundo Cordero with 27. So next down to Ashton Gate, where Bristol entertained Worcester. Henry predicted Bristol, I predicted Bristol. As it was, Bristol came through and won 30 points to 13. So Henry and I still tied. Key players in that game, BRYAN again, 44 points. Francois Hogard, 38 points. And Neil Annett with 37. And so to the final game of the weekend, Sunday's game, London Irish versus Leicester. Leicester obviously come off the back of a good victory against Gloucester at Welford Road last week. London Irish, visitors at Worcester, lost narrowly 11-10. But a brand new stadium for them this season, and they came through 22 points to 9. Henry had predicted London Irish, I predicted Leicester, along with virtually everybody else who follows us. As it was, Irish win and Henry takes this game week. Key players in that game, George Knott, 31 points, Henry Liebenberg, 29 points, and Blair Cowan with 28. So everybody generally agreed with the predictions going into this weekend, bar the London Irish against Leicester one. As it was, I got most of them wrong, but so did everybody else, so I take some solace in that. So anyway, next on to my key player from this weekend. And that was, of course, Gloucester's Billy Twelvetrees, who ground out a 56-point haul in their win against Wasps at Kingsholm. But as it was, despite that excellent result for Gloucester, they did not top the top team for fantasy points from the weekend. That was, of course, Harlequins and their emphatic win at Northampton Saints. And so on to my top value pick for this weekend, and that goes to none other than Sale Sharks' Cobus Visa, who had a great game up in Newcastle despite their narrow loss, 55 points for him. But I must also give a shout out to two other players who had really good games this weekend and don't cost the earth, who perhaps are looking like some real gems for this season. Glenn Young at Harlequins and Sean Robinson at Newcastle, who both went very, very well. And so next up, thank you to a comment from Adam Stroud on YouTube, who suggested doing the highest scoring players for each position in the game. Now, I've consolidated these down into each individual position, so rather than loose head prop and tight head prop, it's just prop, it's just lock, it's just flanker, number 8, so moving through. But it should give you a couple of the key players from the weekend who obviously performed exceptionally well. So without any further ado, at prop, Tom West with 32 points. At hooker, BRYAN, 44 points. Lock, Cobus Visa, 55. Flanker, Lewis Ludlam, 39 points. Number 8, Sam Simmonds, 32 points. Scrum half, Danny Kerr, 45 points. Fly half, Marcus Smith, 52 points. Centre, Billy Twelvetrees, 56 points. Winger, Nathan Earle, 33 points. And fullback, Mike Brown, 33 points. Also, finally, a shout out to 19-year-old Johan Lloyd at Bristol, who at fullback had a fantastic performance and is looking like a really good prospect for this season. And so finally, onto something that probably ought to be a staple for these videos, but I didn't include last week, is the top fantasy director of the round. And that this time goes to Angus Bray, the honking horn of Goose, who scored 517 points. In fact, the average this week was 301 points, which is obviously a little less lower than the 358 we got last week. But invariably, the opening weekends or returning weekends that we saw after our initial lockdown this year were absolutely flying. I think the highest was 700 and something in that first weekend after lockdown. So they're generally very high, and then they just settle down a bit. So expecting some slightly muted scores over the next couple of weeks, but especially as it gets cold and the ball goes up the jumper and we keep it in the forwards. And so finally, the thing that you've been sitting through all my waffling waiting for, the winner of the signed England shirt. Now this year we've chosen to support Restart, the official charity of the Rugby Players Association, to help support all of the fantastic work that they do, and 50% of all of your upgrades we are giving to the charity. Thank you to everybody who has bought upgrades, big and small, and congratulations to our winner of the signed England shirt, who has been drawn from all of you who purchased upgrades. That is Nigel Heaton. So well done, Nigel. We will get in touch, we will organise that with you and get that out to you. As ever, hit that like and subscribe button, follow us on your favourite social media channel, do everything you can to help us grow. We obviously want to take this game to as many people as we possibly can and to bring the work that Restart do to as many people as we possibly can. Otherwise, I will see you next, probably Friday, for a Game Week preview video for Game Week 3.